Hello, Monetization Nation. This is a Sunday episode of Monetization Nation, which we call Entrepreneurs of Faith. And I want to share with you a couple of stories that are on my mind and a scripture that goes with it. Now, I don't have permission to tell these stories. And these stories are probably going to embarrass a couple of people because it tells the stories of some great things they've done. It's nothing bad about them. It tells about their great service and their much love. And I kind of think these stories need to be told. So please forgive me for telling these stories without permission. Many years ago, I did a lot of consulting work in Brazil. I spent about half of 3 years in Brazil, and I would go for about 2 weeks, and then I would come home to the United States for about 2 weeks and then go back. And I was blessed to be able to help build Azul Airlines and worked a lot with Carlos Martins, built several ventures down in Brazil. And I was very blessed for the work. And it was hard for my family for me to be away. And it was very hard for me to be away from my family for such extended periods of time and to be on the other side of the world. And one night, when I was talking to my wife on a video call, in the background, I heard huge shattering of glass. And in my mind, as this overprotective husband and father, I'm envisioning that someone has just come through a glass door or a glass window. It was a lot of glass shattering. And my wife was very, very tired. And she was done. And she didn't even want to go check out the glass shattering sound. She didn't even want to go figure out what it was. And me being on the other side of the world and not being there to help protect and take care of my family, I was really worried. And after a bunch of cajoling, she finally went and checked it out and showed me on the video camera what it was. And in our master bathroom, we had a very large mirror that spanned 2 sinks. And that mirror had not been attached to the wall well. They just glued it on in an insufficient way. And with hot showers and moisture and steam from those showers, I guess ultimately that mirror, huge mirror, fell off the wall and completely shattered that night when I was on the phone with my wife. And my wife has some pretty serious health issues, and it was just too much for her to deal with that evening. So she closed the door and we finished our conversation and she went to bed. And the next day, some of our dear friends from the neighborhood, Aaron and Amie Cook, came and they cleaned that up for her. And that wasn't the only time they helped her. I believe while I was traveling on business trips, Amie and/or Aaron came and helped clean up multiple times when water flooded in our basement as well. And it was very hard for me to have these emergencies as I was traveling and not be there to provide and protect for my family as they needed it. And I'm eternally grateful for Aaron and Amie Cook, who were there for my family, along with many others who were there for my family to help when I could not be there. And as fathers, we often have to do what it takes, do what we need to do to be able to provide for our families. And that's why I was in Brazil, is because that was the right job that I needed to take for me to provide for my family at that time. And I was doing what I needed to do, and I was where I needed to be, but it was still hard to not be able to be there for my family. And I was so grateful that there were other people who loved my family and were able to be there when I couldn't. Let me tell you another story. This is the story of Josh Clark. So I was on a business trip in Texas, and my daughter was driving to school one morning, and her car broke down on the side of the road. And like I said, my wife has some serious health issues. She's in a wheelchair and is not able to drive. And my daughter called me and asked me to help her. And even though I was on the other side of the country, I stepped out of my meetings and was calling a tow truck and doing the best I could remotely to help through that situation. And as a father, it was just breaking my heart. I really wanted to be there for my daughter and be the one that was helping her through that. And after I'd called and scheduled the tow truck to come and help her get to a shop, she called me back and wanted me to cancel the tow truck because a friend of ours from church, his name is Josh Clark, he had pulled up behind her. He was taking one of his kids to school, I believe, and he opened her hood. He diagnosed the problem. He fixed the issue and was able to get her to school. I believe she was even on time. And I'm eternally grateful to Josh Clark for being there for my daughter when I was unable to be there. I recently heard Josh tell a story of a time where the tables were turned on him. So he had taken a job driving a truck in the oil fields, and his wife was pregnant, and she had gone on a trip, and while she was on the trip, she went into early premature labor, and they took her to a hospital, and she and the baby were not in great condition. And when his parents and his wife's parents heard about this, they immediately got in their cars and they drove to this location where Josh's wife was in the hospital giving birth. And they were able to be there for Josh's wife and Josh's new child and minister to them and pray for them and bless them and do the things that Josh wanted to do, but he was on the other side of the country. Josh was doing what he had to do to provide for his family, but it was tearing his heart out that he wasn't able to be there when his family needed him. And he was so grateful for those family members that were able to be there for his family, his little small immediate family, when he could not be there. It's interesting how that comes around when we love and serve others. It's the kind of the karma that comes back around to us like that. There's a scripture I've been thinking a lot about this week, and I've even texted a bunch of friends and asked them to give me their feedback on this. The scripture is Luke 7:47, and this is the story of the woman who came to Christ, and she washed his feet with her tears, and she kissed his feet, and she anointed his feet with ointment, and she washed her feet she washed Christ's feet with her hair as well. And there was a man that was there with them named Simon, and Simon was critical of what Christ had allowed this woman to do. And he basically said, if you knew the sins that this woman had committed, you would not have let her touch you and do this to you. And Christ said something very profound. He said, her sins, which were many, were forgiven because she loved much. It's a very important doctrinal point for me that resonates with me. She was forgiven because she loved much. As we love, as we serve others, as we bless the lives of others, as we do what Christ would do if he was here, we merit forgiveness. We merit grace in our lives. We don't earn it. It doesn't come because we do X, we then get forgiveness. It comes because we are seeking to love much. We are seeking to be like Jesus Christ. And I think heaven is going to be filled with people like Josh Clark. I think heaven's going to be filled with people like Aaron and Amie Cook, who have shown much love to everyone around them. I'm grateful to have those kinds of people in my life, and I'm grateful for their example, and I'm striving to be more like them and to show much love. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I wish you success as you strive to show much love in your life.